So we're going to do the last piece, which is empower. The section of a check-in, an empower check-in, an empower one-on-one, an empower one-on-one, the goal is to ask the person to take one more responsibility, okay? How do we do that? Well, we do it by getting on the right mindset. So one of the things that I always say is, if I'm going to ask someone to take more responsibility and the person says no, it's not because of me, okay? I'm going to say that again. If a person says no, it's not because of me. I always say, social change, it's our responsibility. And if a person wants to take it and the person sees it and they want to jump on it and be active, that's great, that's amazing. And if they don't, it's okay too, okay? Because to be honest, not 100% of our society is ready to jump and be active, right? Not 100% of our society is ready to fight resistance or to show up. And that's okay. We need to increase the numbers, right? And we need to be more effective at the way we ask. We have to be more urgent at the way we ask, like the framework I gave you earlier. But we have to get in the right mindset. If someone says no, I'm not going to walk out of there feeling defeated, because I'm like, okay, that was an opportunity for the person to get involved. And I truly believe that, because I get a lot of no's in my work, right? And if every no I take it personally, I will be crying in my car all day, which happens sometimes. But sometimes I cry in my car because I know that I messed up in the one-on-one. It was my fault, not because the person didn't see it, right? So it's very important. Get on the right mindset. The second one is be clear on the role. What are you asking the person to do? So one thing that I always like to ask the person to do is to be clear on, this is what I'm asking you to do. One good example is, oh, that was a great idea. Giving feedback on the way that we did signing. Can you take over signing next week? It's a great way of elevating the person's leadership, right? Or for example, every time I have an event, I open the event with a personal story, with a story of self, every time. And it's never me. As an organizer, I always ask new people to practice their story of self. So a good way to do it is at events. So I always train new people to do that, right? So be clear on the role. I want you to share your story. Is that all right? Tell the person why the role matters. That is a very important thing. So many times we ask a person to take more responsibility and we just say, it's just the things that need to happen right now. We don't say why. Do you know how powerful it is to someone to say, hey, I have very little capacity. I had to meet with 100 people and I really need someone to pick up the translation devices and be in charge of translation. Can you be in charge of translation on Saturday? That is way more empowering than, oh my God, I don't know if I'm going to have time. Can you go on Saturday? Are you available? Right? That is not enough information for the person. They need to know why. Provide examples of how leadership looks like in execution, how leadership looks like when they are doing it. So if you're asking someone for signing sheet, just like you did on Saturday, you took over the signing table and you did a great job, that is a great way to do that. Provide examples of the way that their role looks like. Or we also have some don'ts. Don't push too hard. If the person doesn't want to do something, don't push them to do it, okay? There are so many organizers that push the person so hard that the person ends up saying yes, but they hate it, and they quit 2 days later. That's horrible. Don't push too hard. Push enough for like when the person to say, this is why I'm doing it, but don't push too hard. Leave without pushing is the other one. So if the person says no, maybe that no is what? Not what? No. Not now? Or not that. Not that. And finally, not ever. Not ever, right? So the first one is not? No. Not now. Second one? Not that. And the third one? Not ever. Not ever. Great. Ask for something you wouldn't do. You never ask for something you wouldn't do. Ever, ever, ever. Never tell someone, can you help me with parking? Because I hate doing parking, by the way. But I do it all the time because it's the one thing I hate. So I do it to model too, right? Like go and have to say where the cars are going to go first and where's the overflow if there's overflow and where they're going to get out and where are the signs and stuff like that for an event or a one-on-one where I'm talking with someone and say, can you take over parking? And the person is like, I've never done that. Well, me neither. That's horrible. Never ask for something you wouldn't do yourself. Okay? And if you haven't done it, try it first, and then you ask, because that's the first thing that you're going to do as an organizer. Try to be a little bit ahead. Don't ask too soon. So very often we have a one-on-one with a person, the first one-on-one, and we're already saying, can you be a team leader? Like, that's difficult for the first conversation. I always say, try to ask the person to do something first. Because there are a lot of overcommitted people like me in the world. How many of you, every time someone says something, you say yes? How many of you say yes to everything? I am the yes person, right? And it's horrible. I'm trying to work on it, right? But in reality, there are a lot of yes people in the world. And that's what happens. All yes people are so stretched that we can't do it all, right? So one thing I always say is when people ask me, instead of saying yes now, I usually say, can you give me one thing to do first, right? It's the same thing I do in organizing. I give the person one thing to do. It might be signing. It might be show up. It might be volunteering. But that one thing to do will show me if the person has followed through. Because if we are always asking in the first one-on-one for people to be elevated, to be catapulted to the next level, you know what happens? You're always recruiting the most charismatic people. You're always recruiting the people who you like the most, and not the people who actually are going to be the leaders of tomorrow.